Hi, I'm Carly, and I'm going to be talking about a case study in effective grassroots campaign strategies from the work I did over the summer. So the current political administration, or lack thereof, has led to the increased importance of electoral and democratic processes in the minds of many Americans. And heightened attention on the 2016 election especially has increased conversations about the power of a grassroots strategy for informational, political, and rights-based campaigns. There are now hundreds of thousands of newly politically active people all around the country looking to be led, looking to be organized, and looking to make a change. And that can be done through grassroots. My work with the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network this summer provided an excellent case study in how to isolate these successful grassroots strategies. Our focus was the 2018 Cayuga Lake HABs Harmful Algal Blooms Monitoring Program, which is a volunteer-led initiative to survey the lake once a week for harmful algal blooms, which I'll now refer to as HABs. And I used my work recruiting volunteers, organizing data, and conveying consistent information to identify and carry out grassroots strategies. First of all, what is this? What is a grassroots campaign? Basically, a grassroots campaign brings together a group of people affected by an issue to accomplish a goal presented by that issue. For us, the goal was to inform the residents and business owners of the Cayuga Lake watershed region about the issue of HABs and its emergence on Cayuga Lake. Knowing now what grassroots campaigns are, let's start isolating the successful grassroots strategies I identified during my work with the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network Monitoring Program. Before you start any outreach, you need to figure out who you're reaching out to, and you need to create a constituency of parties with a connection, a vested interest, or a residential proximity to the issue. And this is the constituency I created for the people of Cayuga Lake with contact with the lake, from transportation to recreation to septic systems to drinking water filtration. And I did this by going out into the Finger Lakes community to see who was interacting with the lake, who would be affected by HABs, and who would care enough to help stop their spread. And the first stage of outreach is to alert the constituency about this issue. For us, that was the monitoring and emergence of HABs. And I used this personal connection and this intimacy that I found using analytic and conversational research in the first email of contact, explaining how each group would be directly impacted by HABs. And using this research proved to be successful because we got a lot of replies of people expressing interest in volunteering and about the program. Informational campaigns keep their constituencies updated, involved, and engaged with the issue, and a weekly newsletter is a great tool for this. Instead of a dull, repetitive text, community organizers can use a narrative structure. And I chose a question and answer structure in which I'd read the emails sent to me by people in the community and sent to other members of the people running the program, and looked for common questions and concerns. And I would phrase my newsletter topics as questions so I could answer individual questions to a broader audience. Newsletters also allow you to personalize dry informational topics, and I did this using pictures that I took on the job with faces and locations familiar to the audience. We used pictures of the trainings to explain what the monitoring program was, and pictures sent in of harmful algal blooms that we took or volunteers took to explain what is a HAB and what isn't. And incorporating these pictures of what we were doing as we were doing it allowed people to visually keep up with the program. And it was an effective way to keep them interested by turning HABs from an abstract topic of science to a dynamic and relevant problem. Grassroots campaigns run on human power, and they rely on an active community. But often the organizational or logistical work and the people doing it stay out of the public view. Lifting the curtain to introduce these volunteers can help boost your viewership because it creates a platform for neighbors, coworkers, and friends to recognize each other and the hard work they do for their communities. For us, the monitoring program, we had 70 volunteers and 4 quadrant leaders representing the 4 quadrants of Cayuga Lake. And those 4 quadrant leaders had a lot of extra work coordinating between the other monitors. So to shout them out, I wrote bios about them and dispersed them throughout the constituency through one of the newsletters and on the website. I interviewed all 4 of them for their professional and personal history, their past involvement with environmental work, why they love Cayuga Lake, a fun fact, and a photo of their choice. And publicizing these faces made them more accessible. I found that it was easier to ask questions and ask for help when people could connect a face to a name. And keeping your volunteers appreciated and making sure they know how much you appreciate them can increase the prospect of them volunteering in the future. Grassroots campaigns must also employ the infrastructure already in place in their communities to take advantage of these existing informational pathways. The infrastructure of the Cayuga Lake Watershed region is 45 municipalities, all with their own town office. And because these towns are small, facilities or programs that would have been spread across multiple facilities throughout the town are concentrated in one building, making them a hub of local activity. So to capitalize on this existing infrastructure, I created a flyer with the most relevant and essential information about HABs, and I sent them in packets to all of the clerks. And a unique aspect of the HABs program was that it came with its own infrastructure. It was teams of connected volunteers throughout the perimeter of the lake, passing information up and down. So we employed these volunteers as vectors of information to address a communication gap that we had found in our reach. After about a week of the program, we found that monitors were being asked what they were doing as they were collecting these samples, and people just didn't know what they were up to. So we created this flyer explaining what a HABs Harrier, HABs monitor does, and a little bit about the program. And we sent them to all 70 HABs volunteers, along with why the packet or why the flyer was created and how to use it. And we got a really positive response from this flyer, which shows that empowering volunteers is an effective communication strategy. A major component of a grassroots campaign is its website. It should be a central hub for all information relevant to the campaign. And if multiple organizations are collaborating on this project, like it was for us, all of the information should be compiled into one site, which is what I got to do for the HABs monitoring program site. And I was also able to create side pages with a variety of HABs info. And I had an updates page with daily updates from the lake, pictures sent in from volunteers and from our partners with Discover Cayuga Lake, along with ecological observations about the lake to keep people updated on the lake's ecology so they could plan ahead. And we also had a HABs in the news page where I compile news stories from all around the state and around the country about HABs and other water quality issues. And lastly, the ability to convey why we do what we do is key to a grassroots campaign. And the clear understanding of why those inside the movement are better equipped to complete their tasks, recruit volunteers, and convey consistent information about the program. So I use the website as a platform to address these foundational questions about the program. Why HABs? Why monitoring? Why Cayuga Lake? Running a successful grassroots campaign is feasible, especially when you have a toolbox of communication strategies to help you through the process. Thank you.